I can lose weight without sweating.
And even if you have a good brand and you have a good concept and you have something that you feel everybody should know about, you're still starting a new business. Yes. And as an entrepreneur, you know the struggle is real.
Neat revolution to reverse the epidemic trends of obesity.
It's just like you say in your business, it's intentional living.
My name is Yvette, and I am the founder of Happen to Life Co-work, an early stage startup that will open in 2026, offering workspace, childcare, food, and fitness. I know, a mouthful, but also I am the everyday entrepreneur. And I am here for the first time. This is the first time this channel is having a guest or guests. And we are so excited because we have a fellow brand called Zero Sweat Fitness. And they are here to spread the great news about the work that they're doing. Happen to Life is all about intentional living, and so is Zero Sweat Fitness. So tell us, Jamie, more about you and your brand.
Well, I'll just start by explaining. Well, I'm Jamie, and co-founder Greg Burwell is also here on the phone. And I will say Greg's been in the fitness industry, passionate about the fitness industry for 30 plus years. And one problem that he started talking about and recognizing years ago was that even with his clients that were working out every day with him, a high-level trainer, weren't seeing the results quickly enough or weren't seeing the results, period, that they wanted. And then to top that off, you can just go outside and look anywhere and you'll see the 80% of the population who never works out. Yes. So for somebody who's very passionate about making people healthier, it was very disturbing to him to see that there's so many people that just aren't reaching that goal of basic health. And that should be something everyone has access to, right? Better health, better living. Yes. And so he started looking into the science behind NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And Greg is on the phone with us, and I would love for him to go into a little more detail about the science behind it, but that is where Zero Sweat Fitness was born.
Well, NEAT, again, Jamie summed it up, non-exercise activity thermogenesis is everything but structured exercise or sport. So mowing your lawn, trimming your bushes, all those things, all those activities would be considered NEAT. Now that constitutes approximately 15% of our total daily energy expenditure of our metabolism. 70% of that would consist of your basal metabolic rate, i.e. the energy required just to be alive. So what we're doing is we're trying to take NEAT from 15% to 50% of your total daily energy expenditure. That is the goal.
So we're taking all the little movements that you do anyway throughout the day, and we're increasing those movements. For instance, the whole time Greg was talking, I was doing non-exercise activity. I was using my ankle and kind of pumping up and down. I was doing finger taps, and I was squeezing my glutes and my abs. So I'm actually moving and doing intentional movements the whole time you're getting. And you probably didn't really even notice them.
That I'm putting it in the context of someone that is really busy, has 3 small children. Okay, so you're telling me that when I wake up in the morning and I'm getting them ready for school, that's me moving. Okay,
all that counts. That. Credit.
Then we get in the car, but ultimately I can move while I'm driving.
Yes, you have to be careful, obviously, right? And be smart about it.
Okay.
I do want to say that. But yes, as you're sitting in your car, the glute squeezes, the ab squeezes, the shoulder rolls, all those things you can be doing while you're driving, and it's safe. But there's also things you can do with your steering wheel. If you're stopped at a red light, you can squeeze in to activate your chest. You can pull out to activate your upper back and shoulders. You can press down to engage your triceps. You can even do that if you're sitting at a stoplight on your seat. Squeeze your glutes. You can press into the floorboard with the leg that isn't on the brake. There's so many little things that are easy, and you're not gonna sweat, and it's not gonna hurt, and it's not going to slow you down, but it's definitely going to give you bang for your buck in terms of your health. There's so many different little movements that you can do. One of the most exciting ones that Greg will probably mention is the soleus push-up. And that is something that is kind of coming out in our industry right now about how it's going to redirect your blood sugar. When food hits your system, you can redirect how the blood or the food is absorbed in the body by simply raising your heels up and down. You have to be seated, so your knees have to be in a 90-degree angle in order to activate the soleus muscle, which is sort of underneath the gastroc, which is the main calf muscle. But right now you are doing one of the main Zero Sweat Fitness, our favorite movement. And if you can start doing this, in fact, while you're eating, start eating your meal, start doing your soleus push-ups. And then continue for 20 to 30 minutes after your meal to make sure the body is using the food that you just gave it as energy and not storing it.
And one of the greatest fitness hacks that you can ever use, or health hacks I should say, because it can reduce your absorption of sugar by up to 52%. Reduce sugar by 52% because when we eat, we spike the blood sugar. Insulin comes in, and insulin is a fat storing hormone. So if we reduce the spikes, we actually maintain our weight. And if we keep the spikes down, we lose weight. But if we keep spiking, we're going to gain weight. The problem we have now is twofold. We're dealing with ultra-processed foods right now, and those are foods that are manufactured. The good news about ultra-processed foods is the fact that they can feed a lot more people inexpensively. The bad news is the health consequences as a result of that. So we can take a whole food, and make it refined. And so what that means is we're basically mainlining our calories into fat, because those calories will go directly into fat as storage. And so the insulin, which is a hormone, will come in because there's too much, we're elevating our blood sugar level. So insulin comes in to control that, and in doing so, we are storing that fat. So we need to think in terms of doing this, but eating whole foods and not eating ultra-processed foods.
I knew he wanted to chime in about that, because obviously food is such a huge component, but relating to Zero Sweat Fitness, even if you don't have access to better food, you do have access to better health. Because if you've just consumed, like children, they don't have control over what food is put in front of them, right? So when they're eating this bad food, they can implement the simple soleus push-up, and all of a sudden the body is processing that food differently. I'm not saying French fries and ultra-processed food is now all magically good for you. Definitely not saying that, but I'm saying we can do something right now. Everyone can do something. Obviously, Greg encourages changing the food and eating whole food, but...
I do, and in fact, now that we have an infusion of GLP-1s, Ozempic, Zepbound, etc., it makes it easy for people to make bad choices and still lose weight. Not a good choice long term, because we're still doing bad things to our body, but we're losing weight, and so we think, okay, everything's fine. I can eat bad food and still lose weight. Zero Sweat is a lifestyle. Eating healthy is a lifestyle.
It's just like you say in your business, it's intentional living. It seems as though weight loss catches everyone's attention with Zero Sweat Fitness, and that's a good thing, but at the same time, we're thinking much bigger. And the Mayo Clinic, it's funny you called it a revolution, and we have always called ourselves the movement revolution, because Zero Sweat Fitness is just life in motion. That's another one of our taglines, and Greg had been doing some research with the Mayo Clinic, and when he read this to me, I was like, Greg, do you have that quote off the top of your mind?
I do. I have to share that with you. The Mayo Clinic researchers believe the discovery of the effects of meat on obesity is so strong that it should be used to prompt a meat revolution to reverse the epidemic trends of obesity.
Greg has been passionate about this for as long as I've known him, and that's been a very long time. It has taken me years to really grasp the impact that non-exercise activity can have on one's health. As a business owner, and Greg has also owned other businesses, and even if you have a good brand and you have a good concept and you have something that you feel everybody should know about, you're still starting a new business. And as an entrepreneur, you know the struggle is real. So I will say that when you start a new business, the one takeaway that I would love for everybody to really hang on to after today's interview is that no matter what it is, as long as you believe in it, you have to stand by it and you have to stick with it. And that can get really tough when you're doing all this work and you're really putting a lot into it and you're getting crickets. I think it's important to remember that that is when you hold on tight and you keep going, because that's when most people drop out and they quit. So as an entrepreneur, from entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs, keep going. As long as you believe in what you're doing, you have to just keep going.
Right, and not to be cliche, but my adage has always been keep moving.
Yes, you just have to keep moving. I mean, it goes right along with Zero Sweat Fitness.
Jamie, do you think we could do some movements to kind of close it out?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay.
The soleus push-up.
Okay, the soleus push-up.
SPUs.
I've been doing it since. Okay, and it feels good.
It's
honestly.
easy. It's easy, and Greg will tell you it's that muscle, the soleus muscle, is made up mostly of slow twitch fibers, muscle fibers, and that's why you're not like exhausted. You know, it takes a lot of repetitions to experience any sort of fatigue. You're not going to be sweating or sore or anything like that.
Okay.
But the possibilities are endless. But let's just go with a simple finger tap, right?
Okay.
If you've been sitting hunched over your computer, with me so often, one of my favorites is the butterfly. You stop, take a breath, hands behind the head, and you open your chest and pull your elbows back, and then forward, and then repeat. And that just feels good because we're kind of undoing all of that hunched over, right? The back muscles get overstretched, the chest muscles get tightened. Yes. You can do knee squeezes to engage your inner thighs. You can do leg extensions. Obviously, you can do sit stands. You just stand up and sit down.
When I'm flying for work, consulting work that I do, I can do that 3-hour flight.
Oh my gosh, yes, on the plane, that's a good one. Yep, leg extensions, the soleus push-ups, the knee squeezes, the glute squeezes. No one will really even know. You can press into your seat, engage your triceps over and over and over. What woman doesn't want better arms?
Yes.
Your abs, I find myself doing abs all day long.
Okay.
So because it's so subtle, no one can see it under my clothes, but I'm contracting my abs all the time. And because the abs are in general a stabilizing muscle, I try to add movement, subtle movement, like I'm rotating my torso and I'm contracting my abs. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit of obliques, and it's just so subtle, right? So just different movements while engaging my core. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We have like a whole movement library that's coming out on our website, and then of course on our YouTube channel. And every single episode we show you more and more movements. But here's the one thing I like to tell people. If you're ever in a situation, because it's not a habit yet, right? This is new to some people. And genetically speaking, not everyone is genetically prone to movement, right? So this is really gonna be hard for some people. Any movement counts. If you catch yourself being still, don't worry about what the movement is, just move. Change your position. If you've been sitting like this, shift over to this hip. Constantly shift your weight, and that will count towards your non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
And remember, Jamie, as we always say, good posture accounts for an additional 80 to 100 calories burned per hour. Just good posture.
Yes, and I love that he reminds me of that, because the first time he told me that, I like to think of myself as having good posture, but I sat up without leaning on my chair all day at work one day. Even in my car, I didn't relax back into my seat in the car. My back was so sore the next day. I was like, holy smokes, that makes sense that I'm burning 90 extra calories per hour just by sitting up straight.
This has been amazing. This has been absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. And so it is just so exciting to know that we can move our bodies and it can count. We can get points on our watches if you have those. I have that. So I'm excited to see the progress that I'm going to make. And also for entrepreneurs, this is just such a personification of the things that I talk about as it relates to believing in something, a brand, building a brand, and knowing that you are solving a problem. I call it $1 million solution. That's what you all have. And I'm so honored to be able to share your message and what you're doing. And so I will link your channel, the movement, keep moving as it relates to our brands and what we have a vision for that other people can't see yet. Keep moving. Until next time, like, subscribe, do all the things. Take care.